Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Tom, my brother, died of pneumonia a year ago today. I'm still surprised that modern medicine can cure most things and even helped my brother beat Parkinson's. But a simple cold turned into pneumonia, which his 95-year-old body couldn't handle. It was really his fault. He could have taken care of it sooner, but I think he thought it was time for him to leave. Many people would say he had a full life, but he always felt like something was missing. He never really felt happy. Yes, he was very proud of his children and the next 2 generations, but something was missing. There seemed to be something missing in his life. I'd known about it for a long time, but I hadn't really given it much thought until his death gave me time to think. As a child, I was often jealous of my brother. He had it made. Mom always liked him better. He was her first son and her first child. Because of this, I sometimes hated the fact that I was born a girl. It seemed like my mom didn't like being a woman and wanted to take it out on me, but I'm getting off track. Even though he was 3 years older than me, my brother and I were pretty close. We used to play together a lot. I remember when we were younger, we would dress up and act like we were sisters. As a young child, that didn't seem strange at all, and when we grew up, I forgot about it until we were in college. I could tell that my brother was very sad when I was in high school. He was never really a part of any group. People made fun of him for being a country bumpkin, and it got worse when he tried to fit in. I often worried that he would lose it, but he got through it without any big problems. Later, he swore he'd never go to another class reunion, and he never did. He seemed to be the happiest when all he had to think about the summer. He was close with 3 girls. The 4 of them were almost always together. During the summer, they did everything together, and we used to joke that he was just another one of the girls. We never thought about how true that might be. When he went to Ohio State, he started to figure out who he was. I thought he was finally happy, but he had a look in his eyes that told me something else. I couldn't explain something. He started to follow the country way of life to the fullest. Every day, he put on Wranglers, brush poppers, and lacers. He wore riatas and boots instead of dockers and loafers, even at work. He even joined an agricultural fraternity. From the outside, he looked like a typical country boy, but one thing never changed. His closest friends have always been girls. When I finally finished high school, I went to Ohio State with my brother. I would hang out with him and the other people he knew. I saw how naturally he got along with the girls. What always bugged me about him was how humble he was. He didn't like himself very much, and because of that, he didn't go out on many dates. He thought that no girl would want to date him because he wasn't interesting enough. Still, he did have one steady girlfriend, and she was very pretty. I was on the junior fair board the summer after my first year of high school. I wasn't chosen as president like my brother was, but I was in charge of the entertainment committee. The Madman Makeover was an event we decided to try. Some of the guys dressed up as girls for the event, which was a beauty pageant. I tricked my brother into joining so that we would have enough people. He acted like he wasn't excited, but later he admitted that he was very excited. A girly friend of his let him borrow a white dress. It was just the right size for him. They were both 6 feet tall. It was funny to see all those guys try to walk in heels, except for Tom. He was polite. The girls and I were amazed by how well he carried himself. One girl even said that he was better at walking in heels than she was. Given that Tom is a boy, it was surprising that he was pretty and feminine as a girl. He might have been taken for a girl if he had shaved his legs. I didn't know it at the time, but he wanted to do that but was afraid of the questions it might bring up. When Tom finally got his degree he went to Auburn to get his master's. He didn't have to wait long to meet a girl and start going out with her. She was most likely the worst thing that ever happened to him. He was unhappy. All of his friends were guys who were friends with her. It looks like she could keep her guy friends, but he couldn't keep his girlfriends. When they finally broke up after graduation, I was glad. When Tom moved to Illinois to get his PhD, I noticed that his attitude had changed in small ways. He felt a little better. He had no roommates and was living on his own. There was nobody to date. He still wore the same clothes he had always worn. He even wore his hat more often, but when he got his ears pierced, it made people wonder. When Tom and I were talking, he told me the one secret he had been keeping. He was a crossdresser, but he also told me that he was jealous of me. Here, I was very confused because the brother I was jealous of was also jealous of me. He did say he wished he were a woman. He felt like that was what he should have been all along, and he often wished that one day he'd wake up with the right body. I never really got it, but I could understand because I wanted to be a man. He told me that in his dreams, he often saw a beautiful woman with brown hair. When he was in middle school, he had his first dream about her. IT was a dream he had in college that made him realize he was the woman in those dreams. I think he was scared more than he was willing to say. I asked him if he ever thought about changing genders, but he said no. He was worried about how it would affect his family. He tried to get me to believe that dressing was enough. As he got older, he looked more like a man, and the madman makeover didn't help him fool people as well as it used to. That bothered him a lot, and I think that's why he thought he was so ugly, even though everyone else thought he was handsome. As he worked on his doctorate, he met a girl who became his friend and whom he later married. She knew what his problem was, but she didn't understand it. So he tried to hold it back. At first, it seemed like everything would be fine, but after a couple of years, Tom started to feel worse. He thought she had lied to him. He started shaving his legs. Eventually, he started getting laser treatments to get rid of his body hair. It gave him some relief, and his wife never said she didn't like it. She, on the other hand, would say mean things when he talked about women's clothes. As time went on, Tom and his wife had 4 beautiful children, and both did well in their academic careers. Tom was 40 when he became dean of the College of Agriculture at Oklahoma State. A few years later, he took the same job at Texas A&M. He then became president of the University of Tennessee. He ended his work life as president of the Ohio State University, where many of us went to school. Even with all his success, I could see that he was hurting inside. I asked him how he felt at his retirement party. He told me that his kids were the only thing that made him happy in life. By this time, science and medicine had come up with a new way to change a person. Tom said he thought about it every day when I asked him if he ever thought about it. When asked why he didn't do it, he just said, "It's too late for me, Pat." I didn't agree, but he accepted his life as it was. I didn't think Tom would last much longer after his wife died suddenly 10 years ago, but he did. He looked happy on the outside, but those around him, and especially me, knew he was hurting in some way. In the last few years, he stopped taking care of himself and his health went down quickly. Then his pneumonia started to get worse. I was with him every day of his last week, and I almost missed a miracle that happened during that time. It moved along very slowly. At first, it looked like he was dying, but I saw that his wrinkly skin was slowly getting softer. The lines on his face softened. His beard turned into light peach fuzz. I didn't really notice it until the very last day. I had his oldest daughter come help me bathe him the morning before he died. Erica was confused when she looked at her dad. "Aunt Patty, he looks so different," she told her. "You are correct. I must not have noticed it because I've been here the whole time." I said it. "Mom," Jackie, Erica's daughter, spoke up. "Grandpa looks like a woman." She had a point. My brother did look like a woman. A 95-year-old woman was there where my brother had been lying. When she was young, you could tell by looking at her face that she was pretty. "Oh my God," Erica replied. "How?" I looked at my brother and lifted the covers off of him. When I realized that he had become a woman from head to toe, I shed a tear. "It's a miracle, honey," I told her. "It's a miracle." After we gave my new sister a bath, she woke up. I had been looking into those same eyes for 92 years, but for the first time, I saw peace in them. She smiled and looked at me. She said in a weak voice, "Patty, you should go. I'm headed home." She smiled a smile of peace for all time and went on to the next world. I cried tears of both sadness and happiness. My brother's wish finally came true, but I didn't understand why it had to happen so quickly. I'm not sure I get it yet, but I do know one thing. He left this world as a happy woman, which makes me feel very good. Erica never really knew what happened to her grandfather, but I could tell from the way Erica smiled through her tears that she knew. I knew she was close to her father, and that maybe, just maybe, she knew what he was like on the inside. As I sit here and think about that day, I can't help but wonder what it would have been like to grow up with my older sister. Were we more likely to get along? I'll always be curious, but I'll never find out. One thing I do know, though, I love you, sis. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.